All right, we're here back for another episode of Rich Take on Sports, and it's my honor to have Kelsey Plum of the Las Vegas Aces here with me. Kelsey, thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I greatly appreciate it. I know you just got done doing some lifting, so
Trying
what
to
was
get
it like
big,
today?
you know? Not too bad, not too bad. You know, the day before a game, so just trying to get everything activated and all that stuff.
Are you a big weightlifter?
I actually do enjoy it. I think, like from an early age, my dad had us doing stuff, so I kind of always just was in that mode. So when I got to college, like I know some of my teammates had never touched a weight or anything, but like I had been lifting, so it wasn't, I like it and I see the benefits of it, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, for the longest time, when I was growing up, basketball players, that was taboo to lift weights because it was going to affect your shot.
Yes.
And so, but have you seen just the opposite?
So it's interesting because I've always heard that, and then growing up, my dad was a football player, and so he would be like, he calls me Plumber. He'd be like, Plumber, lift, and then we're gonna shoot after. And so like you're tired or whatever, but like you can still get your shot mechanics. That's always what I've done, just lifted and then shot after, and I mean, it's turned out okay for me, so.
Well, I would say so.
So, all right. I just listen to him. I don't know where he got it from, but whatever.
Well, you're the most prolific scorer in college basketball history, only behind Pistol Pete Maravich, right? So it's very good company from that standpoint. So you mentioned your dad and early on. So let's walk back to Kelsey Plum growing up in San Diego, California. What's kind of the first memories of you understanding what sports is?
So I come from a big sports family. So my dad played baseball and football in college at San Diego State. My mom played volleyball at UC Davis. I have two older sisters. One played volleyball at UC Davis, one played volleyball at the University of Oregon, and then I have a younger brother that played football at UC Davis. So everyone went Division I and played sports. So it was never like,
You got an overachieving family here.
it was, yeah.
I feel inadequate.
No, not at all. It was just like that was the environment we grew up in. So like it was interesting because now I'm an adult and now I see that it is like abnormal that everyone in your family not only played sports but at a high level. But growing up, it was seen for me as just like.
Is that just normal?
It was just like it was never a question of like if I will. It was like just a matter of like when or where, you know. And I think it could have been bad, but like I just never had a backup plan. I always just was like, I told my mom when I was 10, Mom, I just want to let you know I'm going to be in the WNBA.
How'd she respond to that?
And she just kind of looked at me like.
Because every kid has some type of wild dream, right?
That they
just
tell their parents,
spout
right?
out.
You know, I appreciated my mom because at the time she just said, okay, well, we have a lot of work to do, you know? And then I remember when I actually got drafted, she was crying, and I said, Mom, like, everything okay? And she was just like, I just want to let you know when you were 10 and you told me that, I didn't believe you, and I'm sorry.
Wow.
That hit me because I was like, wow. Like but I give her so much respect for not crushing it, you know?
Yeah, back then, she didn't say,
tell me
you can't
do it. She was just like, okay, well, she was just like, I want to let you know, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm all in, you know? So. And
that's even impressive for her to admit it later on as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's her opening her heart and being very transparent and vulnerable to admit that. Because as a parent, I've got 3 teenagers, and that's the last thing you really want to do is admit to your kids that there's times when you're wrong, but especially when it's in terms of something about their dreams and their goals and what they want to accomplish, because you never want to say you can't do that,
right?
Because that can obviously affect people's perception and just their drive. Because I know for me, that was actually a motivating factor, because I heard a lot growing up that I couldn't do things. So from a motivation standpoint, what was motivating you back then to say that you're going to be a WNBA player?
I mean, I came from an athletic family, but I was kind of like the black sheep. Like I was a little bit chubby, I had a unibrow. I didn't fit in like with like kids, a lot of people. So I was always spending, like you said, time on your own in the backyard, just like shooting by myself. Like that was like my thing. And
Did you find peace
Oh my gosh, just so much peace. At lunchtime, you know, like everyone would play, I'd just go shoot like on my own. And I think I had a lot of people say like coaches or like whatever, I was very outspoken, like I'm gonna do this, and people would like laugh at me or you know, whatever. So I was always kind of that underdog because I was, like I said, chubby and just wasn't like.
Did you feel that you didn't fit in?
No, I was a confident kid, but it just I didn't have it. My athleticism wasn't there. It wasn't clicking yet. I didn't hit my peak yet. So even my siblings were really hard on me. Like, it's funny now because my sister, Lauren, she's 2 years older than me. She went to Oregon. She played volleyball. Growing up, she was really, really hard on me, like a bully.
Like what ways?
Like oh my gosh.
Beat you up or just?
Beat me up, but like, you know, make fun of me, talk about how chubby I was, you know, get everyone else to gang up against me, just like tough on me. And now she jokes, she was like, well, I just want to let you know, like, I basically made you, you know, like made you whatever. I'm like,
thanks, Laura.
She takes all the credit.
Yes.
She tells people, you know,
but obviously that did shape you though to a certain degree.
No, it really did. I had to kind of like grow that tough skin, and I had that like mentality of like, I don't care what you say, I don't care, I'm gonna figure out a way to make this work. And you know, it took me a while. I was a late bloomer. Like I was like decent in high school, but I wasn't like great. When I got to college, I was good, but it wasn't like, you know, I had to work my way up. It's fascinating seeing people now look at me and, oh, you were the #1 pick, you are the all-time leading scorer. These things weren't like prevalent for a long time. It happened like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I had this great senior year, but it wasn't like it was, I was the #1 recruit coming out of high school. I was the #1, you know what I mean? So it was so interesting being the underdog my whole life, and then all of a sudden, it just changed.
Yeah, and then you're a star.
It was never like, I don't know if it was something that I wanted, it just kind of just happened.
So you don't feel that you wanted to be a star?
No, I always wanted to be a great basketball player, but I didn't really ever think about like fame and like media and all this stuff. Like I wanted to play in the WNBA. I never said I wanted to be the #1 pick. You know what I mean? Like yes. And I'm serious. It
and
was
that
like,
is a different level.
It is. It's crazy. It's still something that I'm trying to deal with because it's like I was never that kid. You know, I was just kind of like the one white kid on the AAU team that would show up and try to kill people, give them 30 or 40, but I wasn't like the athletic whatever. So it's been a challenge for me to try to figure out like my new niche or whatever, like that, being professional.
Yeah, so how are you approaching that then? This new fame, this new stardom?
It's been tough on me. I think I didn't really see it coming until it was like too late. Like it hit me really fast. My rookie year was like super hard. I mean, I got hurt and I was trying to come back and I didn't play well. And then even last year, I was trying to still figure it out. Kind of got it towards the end. You know, now I'm in my 3rd year and it's a new team. Like, I mean, technically it's the same team, but it's a new team. You know how many pieces we have. And so, I mean, I'm always going to figure it out. I work too hard and I'm too competitive, but it's hard because I think people's expectations and the time that people expect to like want to see something is so unreasonable.
Yeah. Well, I do feel that we're in society the way it is today. It's what I call the microwave generation.
It is.
They want results immediately. And success doesn't happen overnight. And however you define success,
right,
that's relative, obviously, but it's most stories you hear about people having, oh yeah, it's a 15-year overnight success. You know, it takes time, but nobody wants to, especially when you're in the spotlight like you are, being the #1 pick, they want to see you coming out and making all WNBA your first year,
right,
et cetera. So have your parents been helpful with that, or how have they been in terms of this whole new, because now all of a sudden their daughter is a star.
Yeah, I think it's taken some getting used to. Just like, I mean, my family's funny. They still like, if you hang around them, they still mess with me, joke with me, talk trash to me, whatever, like families do.
That's family.
They keep you humble. They really do. I think they've handled it well. They love me. They encourage me a lot. But I don't think anyone can really ever prepare you for the monster or the beast. Like, it's something that you have to figure out yourself. And it's something that, like you said, in our microwave generation, I get questions from people all the time, like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you score like you scored in college? Why don't you do this? Like, and, I just have to step back and smile, say, you know what? I don't know what's wrong with me, and I pray a lot, and I think it's just something, like you said, it's like that 15-year overnight success type thing, and people don't understand it. And, we'll look back in a couple of years when I do get it, and it'll be like, oh, it came or whatever, and it's going to come, and I know it, but in the meantime, you just have to stick it out.
Yeah. Well, it'll be just like what you talked about your career.
Exactly.
Right? Your whole career's been that way.
Exactly.
You'll hit your stride at some point, and then the rocket ship will take off again.
Right.
Now, you mentioned praying. How important is faith in your life?
I think it's hard to put into words, but I just know that at every step of my life, God has directed my steps, and He's always made it very clear, what I should do, and I think, I always pray for clarity, and right now I'm praying for patience, and it's like, you ever heard that saying, when you pray for patience, He gives you opportunities to be patient?
Yes.
He just doesn't give you patience.
You get tested,
oh my
right?
God. Trust me, I'm being tested. I feel like I'm being tested every day, but it's something that I'm grateful for. I think that in this whole process has made me closer to Him, because I think that when everything's going good, at times it's very easy to forget.
That's right.
And so maybe this is the reason all that's happened, but like I said, I'm grateful for it, and it's a constant thing that I'm working on. But
how early on did you come into your faith?
I mean, I grew up in a Christian home. We went to church a lot, and my parents, they're Christians. I think they didn't push us onto it. It was it's
a self-discovery type of
it really
process.
Is. And we had some of the fundamentals, but it was never you need to do this or that, and I think as I've gotten older, a little bit out of college, starting to be a professional, I started to really focus in on it more, because I think when you're a kid and, like you said, everything's going good, you're not as locked in as you should be, and so this whole process has helped me with that relationship.
Are you able to find time to actually sit by yourself and reflect? I mean, do you have a routine to stay connected? Because you're so busy, obviously, with travel and just, across the world.
I have to do a better job of finding more time. I do find time, but it needs to be a lot better. So it's something that I'm working on. Thank you for that.
There we go. Yes. So that'll be the one tidbit that you'll.
There you go. I'll definitely take that with me.
And I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, life gets moving so fast.
Yes.
And I didn't come into my faith until I was probably 36, 37, and I just turned 48. And so, I hear of people's stories talking about how faith has been a big part of their life early on in their life, and there's times I'm jealous.
Right.
That, man, I wish I could have had that years ago, because that would have helped me in certain struggles throughout my life. But everybody has their own journey.
Right.
And you come, as I mentioned, talking about your own pathway and self-discovery. Maybe I wouldn't have been ready to fully accept Christ, at that point. But through trials and tribulations,
right.
Everybody has the walk. And so now I'm very grateful that I have that foundation. Going back to the family, the competitiveness though.
Yeah.
When you say you had a competitive family, give me the rundown. How competitive were you and your siblings? And even with your parents, because they're obviously had to be very competitive.
Okay, I'll give you an example. So we used to go to eat, like as a family, right? And sometimes my mom wouldn't be there. So say it was like my dad and the 4 kids. We would eat, and he would like act like he was going to the restroom, sneak out, like pay the bill, sneak out, and we'd all look at each other, 5-10 minutes go by, and we would be like, oh shoot, and take off out of the restaurant. He'd have the car like rolling around the parking lot, and you see these 4 kids run out, and he would just start driving. And if you didn't get into the car, if you didn't make it, you were walking home. So you were running for your life. So my dad would
this is no joke.
This happened every time we went out to eat. I don't know how he caught us every time, but we would be you wouldn't even finish your food before he'd be like, oh no. So he would take off, and we'd send 2 kids one way and 2 kids the other way, because it's like, if he backs up, he's not going to back up into us, and the other 2 kids could catch him, Oh my gosh.
So you guys got smart about it though.
Well, eventually, the first couple times we did not, but eventually we started to get it. But yeah, you better make it in the truck, or you're not getting a ride home.
Were there times where you had to walk?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My dad and I would go play pickup a lot, pick up basketball Saturday mornings, and I'd walk home after that, mostly because I was mad he didn't give me the ball. My dad, especially when the game's on the line, he thinks he's Kobe. He thinks he can have that.
He wants to take over.
Turnaround baseline jumper. I'm like, Dad, it doesn't go in like him. Oh my gosh, we would get into it. I'm like, come on, man, I just hit 6 threes. Give me the ball. But it's all love.
Well, he's teaching you patience. Right?
Yeah, there you go. More patience that I still haven't learned. Yeah, exactly.
Now, were your parents, did they drive you into sports, or did they just let you figure out which one you wanted to gravitate towards?
One of the things that I'm so grateful for, that hopefully, if I get a chance to have kids, that I'm going to instill in my kids, is we work hard at whatever we do, but my parents never pushed me into anything. It was like, what would you like to do? And, Dad, I want to try baseball, soccer, and volleyball. Okay, cool. So when you take that on, you need to play the whole season, because there's times you don't like the coach, you don't like your team, whatever. You could never quit anything, and whatever you started, you had to finish, but you could pick whatever you wanted. So it became and then when I say you could pick whatever you wanted, it was like, okay, this is the team, here's the number, call the coach, ask him what time practice is, tell him you'll be there. So it's like, as a kid, you're held responsible for not only meeting this relationship with the new coach or team, but you need to find out what time practice is, and then you need to let your parents know, and then you're going to be there. So it made me super independent and responsible from a young age.
Did you push back, though, initially, Dad,
at first I'm like, come on, you do it, and no, if you want to go, do it. And it was just very simple. So, I'm over here 12 years old. Hey, coach, my name's Kelsey Plum. I'm trying to come out for your team. What time is practice? They're like, coaches are looking at me like.
Wait a second, because I know that had to be rare.
And they would compliment my parents after the fact. And looking back on it, I see how rare that is. But at the time, I just thought, they're busy. They have other things to do. I have to do this. But then it makes you also, as a kid, no, you want to be there. I had to call. I had to figure out what all this stuff was. Now when I'm there, I'm going to be engaged.
Oh, you're committed.
Yeah, no one is making me be there or anything like that. So that's something that I really respected that my parents did, and it was never a force of any type.
Yeah, well, and I think that's such a valuable attribute to learn at an early age. And as parents, and one day you will experience it is that there's that tough balance, though, in terms of allowing your kids to go through some opportunities where they might fail.
Yeah.
And not take over for them, and that's a challenge. And so it sounds like your parents were able to at least have an understanding of how to balance that as best they could, because as a parent, we have no handbook.
Right. That's so true.
And it's tough at times. So as you mentioned that, doing those things and your parents talking about, hey, you're committed, you can't quit. Were there times where you ever wanted to quit, though?
Oh my gosh, all the time. All the time. Something's not going right. As a kid, you're just like, I want to be done with this. Like, I'm not good at it, or we suck, we're losing all these games, or whatever it is, Yeah,
so did you ever want to quit basketball?
Oh, yeah. I remember when I first got into high school, I was a freshman, I was playing in varsity, and my coach was like, she was really hard on me. And I remember I'd come home and I'd complain to my dad or my mom. I'd be like, Mom, like, coach is crazy, whatever. And my mom or my dad, whoever, would come to practice and watch. My parents weren't like yellers or anything like that. They would just be, they would watch. And then I got in the car and they'd be like, yeah, she's right. You don't move your feet on defense. You turn over the ball and you can't make a right-handed layup. Like, go practice.
So then all of a second.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, you're on her side? No, she's just right. She's trying to help you. So it was never like, and I love that now. As a kid, you don't love it. You don't want to hear that. But I loved it because it was so real, and it was like, this is what you need to do. My dad would be like, Plumber, you're a stick. You need to go lift. Like, you look slow out there. Okay, and so you're right. It is like that balance, because not every kid or every person wants to hear, like, you're not good at this or whatever. But honestly, I really enjoyed it because it just made it. And I know till this day, I could call my mom and be like, Mom, what'd you think? She'd be like,
and she'll tell you?
Yeah, she will. My dad, same, And so I always respect that, because it was never like fluff. My mom doesn't do sugar. I always say, like, sometimes I'll be like, Mom, I need sugar on it.
Yes, please, just a little bit.
It's always salt, and it was just like, she's right. Wow. So.
But again, that shapes you, though.
Yeah.
Right? What about the whole time where you made the decision? I read up on the story in high school where you go to a different high school. Mm-hmm. Was that a challenge, and was that a controversial decision, or what was that like?
That was, again, one of those things that my parents, my two oldest sisters had gone to Poway High, which is where I should have gone. And I went out, in the summer you have like summer league. So I was an 8th grader going into high school, and I played with the varsity like summer league. And I played in a couple games, and I remember this one game I get it. Like, I'm not going to start. I'm a freshman. No problem. I get it.
Yeah, you got to earn your way.
I get it. No problem. So we're playing in this game. We're down by like 20. Coach subs me in, and I just went off. Like, I had like this great game. Brought us back. Almost won. We lost at the end, but it was like real close. After the game, the coach pulls me over, and he says, you shot too much. And I remember I walked out, looked at my dad, I said, Dad, I can't play for this man. It wasn't that he told me I shot too much. It was just the way it was like.
Was it the tone and the body language
It was just
combined?
one of those things that I was like, Dad, this man can't help me, like, get better. Because it was like, why did I shoot too much? We were down by 20. We were going to lose the game anyways. I came in firing. What else should I do, But it was like this, I don't know, I just had this feeling. And I think I totally attribute that to God. I think God makes things very clear in your life. And my dad was like, okay.
You had a gut feeling immediately.
It was right away. I told my dad, I said, Dad, I can't play for this man. And my dad said, okay, Plumber, like, we'll see, we'll look at some other options. And then I looked at La Jolla Country Day, which is McKinnis Wiggins went there, Janae Janae Fulcher, Toya Cunningham. Like, I think Coach Bamford has put like 25 Division I athletes in colleges. Like, it's a crazy number. And I was like, Dad, this is where I want to go. Okay. And so it was just like, I don't know. I think God just made it very clear, and the rest is history.
Well, going to high school in La Jolla is not bad either.
No,
it's a great location.
It's not bad to go to school in La Jolla.
Not to take anything away from Poway.
No,
yes.
La Jolla was
but
the place to be.
I'm familiar with San Diego. When my wife and I first got married, we lived there for 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
what part?
we were in Scripps Ranch. So
Okay.
we lived in La Jolla temporarily when we first moved out there, and then bought a house in Scripps Ranch. You know, a little more inland.
Yeah.
But San Diego. It's just amazing.
It's
and our
amazing.
oldest child, he was actually born in San Diego.
Okay, cool.
As well. So, but again, this was in 1999,
Right.
2000, long time ago. And I just remember, the one regret that I have is that I didn't take advantage of San Diego enough. There's just so much to do out there.
Yeah.
So again, La Jolla is a great place to go. How was your transition though, going into La Jolla High School though, as now you're leaving your friends?
Yeah, La Jolla Country Day I didn't know one person. And I don't know, I think, like, I'm a person of faith, and I just was like, I'm just gonna do this. It was kind of like,
Was your attitude, I'm just gonna roll with it?
I'm just gonna roll with it. I was like, this is what I want to do, and this is the coach I want to play for. And I knew some of the girls on the basketball team, so that helped. But I made friends pretty quick. It wasn't that bad. I love that school to this day. Like, I go back every chance I get. I think there's like I forget what year, reunion, high school reunion, but like I saw all the pictures. I was in Turkey playing, but maybe the next one I can go. But I made a lot of great like friendships from that school, so. That was like one of the best decisions of my life.
Well, obviously then it propelled you into getting to the University of Washington. How was the recruiting process though? Because now all of a sudden you got people coming after you. Yeah.
Again, it was kind of similar to the taking a different path type thing, Washington was not on the map. We hadn't gone to the tournament in like 7-8 years. I think they were like 9th in the Pac-12. And it was just kind of like, I want to do something different. I don't know. My sister went to Oregon when they were like not that good, and she took them to the national championship. And so I just I like always loved that. I love that underdog. I love that, like, I don't want to join them, I want to beat them type mentality. And I could have gone to, a Tennessee or a whatever type of school, but I don't know. I just wanted to do something different. And I really liked Coach Neighbors. I liked what he had. And
what was his message to you then?
He was the assistant when I was recruited. And then right before like my senior year, Kevin McGuff left to get the job at Ohio State. And Neighbors took over as the head coach. And I just kind of said, like, Coach, if you stay, I stay. And he got the job. I kept my word. But I really liked his ideas about, like, the straight-up, like, offense in terms of, like, the dribble drive and how it could, like, help me and highlight my game. And then I loved the girls that were coming in, like, who I was playing with, my teammates. That was super important to me. The city of Seattle is beautiful, and the University of Washington is a great school to go to. So there was like a lot of highlights, but it was definitely a leap of faith because we were not very good, and it's just kind of like, and I got so much backlash for it. I mean, I'm telling you, like, really.
In what way?
I mean, I was a McDonald's All-American, so, you have all these people going to Stanford and Notre Dame and Connecticut, and then why are you going to Washington? Well, what is it? What is Washington? Like, Washington State? No, Washington. You know what I mean? Like, where is that? Seattle? Oh, that's in the Pac-10? No, it's in the Pac-12. Like, people don't know. They don't. Just kind of have to.
But you thrived in that decision.
Yeah, I loved it. It was hard. It was hard, but
what was the hardest thing about it?
Changing the culture. Changing the culture. You know, as a freshman coming in, you know, they had me playing 38 minutes a game, and I think I was like averaging 20. So it was like, it was very clear from the jump, like this was the new direction we're going. And when you do that and you're young, not a lot of people gravitate towards that. You know, especially like the seniors that have been there, worked their way up.
Was there some resentment?
Oh, there was a lot. There was a lot. It was really hard. But again, I wanted to leave. Nope, not going to quit.
Had to stick it out.
Got to stick it out. And then sure enough, it worked out.
Now, are you a vocal leader or are you a leader by example? Just, you know, a quiet leader, but by action?
No, I would say I'm a combo. I'm not a yeller or anything like that. Like I'm intense, but I'm not like negative. I think I'm like very positive, like outgoing. I try to lead by example though, because I feel like, you know, if someone is watching you do something, if you're not doing it, why would they do it?
It builds trust once they see
Absolutely.
Your actions are mimicking what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
You know, but that's a lot of times that doesn't always apply though. You see
That's
people
very
that
true.
Do one thing and say something completely different from that side of things. Now you see Washington is actually, the culture is changing. Was there a moment that you felt that, all right, we've got some opportunities to be really good here at Washington? What year did you kind of feel that was starting to build? Well,
honestly, my freshman year, we beat number 2 Stanford. And we didn't beat them, we beat them. You know, it wasn't like a buzzer beater type. It was like we, from start to finish, won that game.
Yeah, and you had a good game too.
And, well, everyone had a great game. It was like everyone played, and it was one of those moments I was like, we might have something here. And then the next year, we would beat 2-3 more teams like that. So it was only that game my freshman year that we won, upset. And my sophomore year, we beat 3 or 4 ranked teams. And then my junior year, a couple more. And then I remember going to the tournament, and it was like, I kid you not, it was like magic. I know it sounds very cliche, but it was just kind of like we played Penn, and we were the higher seed. We should have won. We won. The next game we played Maryland in Maryland, and it's just like something clicked. We beat Maryland in Maryland. Then we went and we played Kentucky in Kentucky, and that was crazy. There was 15,000 fans sold out in Kentucky, all blue. There was this little pot of purple. And we beat them by 12, 14. And then we played Stanford again. We beat Stanford and then went to the Final Four. It was just kind of one of those magic runs.
I know, it's storybook.
It was crazy.
It's crazy.
It was pandemonium. It was crazy. But
now, do you thrive playing on the road against the crowd or at home with the support of the crowd?
I like the road.
Why is that?
It's just, I don't know. I think it's way more fun. It's fun to play at home, don't get me wrong, but something about the road is it's nice to just quiet people down. You know what I mean? When they're cheer, yeah, I just have that feeling. I love playing against that.
Are you a trash talker?
No, not really. I'm actually usually wow, that was a good move. I was yo, that was nice. You know, people look I think you got to give people their props.
But now, are you playing a psychological game
no,
against them?
No, it's not that deep.
Are you saying that just to maybe try to get in their head?
No, even when we play,
you're just giving them the respect.
Absolutely. Even when we play in the league, whoever I'm guarding, if they make a nice move or I'll be yo, that was nice. Or I'll overseas. I just got done playing against Chelsea Gray in the finals. She's so good at using pick and rolls, snaking pick and rolls, going in and out. And in the middle of the game, I'm talking to her. I'm yo, where are you learning to do this? She was just yo, watch film on Kyrie. Okay, great. I think you can pick up little tidbits anywhere. But yeah, I think.
I've always been a big believer of, hey, ask advice from people who have been through things, experienced it, right?
Absolutely.
Why try to reinvent the wheel?
No.
And if you can pick up information, why not?
And I think people will be very, maybe at first, kind of like, what is this? And then they'll straight up be like, no, do this. Okay.
So do you watch a lot of film?
I do. I'm going to even start watching more, but I watch a lot like on our team. I watch a lot of other teams. Obviously, I love watching NBA, like the finals. This finals is interesting.
Yes, it is.
This next game will be like so crucial.
It's amazing how things can turn so quickly once you throw an injury or two in the mix, right?
I mean, Looney's out.
Can he even play?
Right. Do we know about Clay? Like, and if he does play, is he going to be effective? I mean, I think he's still going to be effective, but defensively, he takes a lot of responsibility, so.
And once you start messing with a hammy.
Ooh, a hammy is like right. Tough.
What's the worst injury you've had?
Worst injury I've had. Pain-wise, I got my 4 front teeth knocked out. That hurt.
Did you take an elbow?
I took an elbow right to the gums.
I had my 2 front teeth knocked out.
Yeah.
But this was as an adult in a YMCA league.
Someone popped you?
Yes.
Elbow? Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Yeah. How did yours happen?
Similar. I got popped in the elbow, post player, and
did it knock you out?
It didn't knock me out. My teeth got like pushed back, so you couldn't really see. And it was at like a high school tournament. And my mom, she's actually a certified like athletic trainer, and so she worked in college and she still is certified to this day. She's very calm. My mom is just very stoic, like her face. You know, she doesn't react to a lot of things. And I remember like growing up, it was one of those things like if you're gonna get hurt on the court, it better be legit. Like, we don't cry about boo-boos and then like you come back in 10 minutes later. Like if you're gonna get carried off, you better be done. Like that was just kind of like
a broken bone.
Yeah, that was our family thing, you know? And so I'm sitting on the ground and I'm like holding my mouth and they call my mom down and I walk off to the side and my mom's like, you know, like let me see, and I go like this and there's like nothing there. She just straight faced, I kid you not. She goes, okay, get your stuff. We're gonna go to the dentist.
She didn't react.
Not at all. And then, of course, as a kid, you're not going to react when your parent is like, you know. So I'm walking in the parking lot, and I'm like, let me see. And I look in a car mirror, and I was like, oh! And I took off to the car, you know. And like I'm just like, are you kidding me? And I get in the car, and I remember my mom is driving to the dentist. She's not even speeding. Like just, you can lose your teeth in like 10 minutes if you don't get it together. My mom's just driving. She looks over. She goes, I told you to wear a mouth guard. I'm like, Mom, this is not the time.
Yeah, this might not be the best time to teach me a life lesson, right? About a mouth guard.
This is my mom.
Again, though, I admire what your parents have been able to do on so many different fronts, you know, from that side of things. Because when you do see people overreacting, that can now put panic in or stress,
absolutely,
or even more stress in the situation than it needs to be.
Absolutely.
You know, from that standpoint. What about going overseas to play? What's that like? I mean, you're in a whole new culture. And now, obviously, basketball is basketball wherever it's played, but you have to assimilate yourself into a whole new culture. I think that fascinates me how you're able to do that.
It's so tough. You know, I've been in Turkey for the past 2 years, and you know, Turkey is like, it's a Muslim country, so they don't celebrate Christmas. So this past year I went 7 months without even going home. Like I didn't even get to the States. So I left in October after the World Championships, and then I got back in May. And it was just like,
I presume that's the longest time you've ever been outside of the U.S.
Straight through, yeah. I mean, the previous year I got to go back. I had a break in February, but It's tough. It's really tough. And it's,
how lonely is it?
ooh. Fortunately, I had 3 other Americans on my team. They have passports, so they can play as Europeans. But they all 3 played in the WNBA. Kia Vaughn, Bria Hartley, and Kia Stokes. So that was like literally a godsend, because that becomes like your family. Like, you guys hang out, you go eat together, you go wherever together, you go shopping together, wherever. And that makes it a lot less lonely. But the previous year, I only had 1 American. And it was just, it's hard. It's so hard. And it's the time change is what is so difficult, because when you go to bed, they wake up. And when they wake up, you go to bed.
Yeah, so it's hard to communicate
so
with
you can
family.
really catch people at certain times, and then people work. So, ooh.
How often do you talk to your parents?
I talk to my parents a couple times a week. It depends. I get to see them. I get to see my dad and the rest of my siblings in like a couple weeks. They're gonna come out to Vegas for a game, but my mom I'll see in New York, so that'll be nice. I wish I would talk to him more, but life can be busy.
Life is life.
Life is life.
I know it. I know. My mom probably thinks the same thing. He's like, man, I never talk to my son.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, hey, it's not anything intentional. That's
exactly.
right. It's just the day goes by, and then another day goes by. It's just crazy, from that perspective. One of the other things that I think is so unique in sports is this whole situation where you can be on a team and one team can move, like you've experienced, which is crazy, and then the other, which you haven't necessarily experienced, but other than some teammates, is being traded. I think it's one of the most bizarre things in industry, sports that is, that a player can be traded. And I know that's common in sports, but I look at any other industry, like, can you imagine if you're a worker at Microsoft and one day they come to you and say, yeah, you've been traded to Google?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. So how have some of your teammates, or how do you view being able to handle situations like that?
This past off season, I was in Turkey and I got a call from my best friend. Nia just got traded to Atlanta, like that. Like, I was so sad. Like, I lost it, and I know she was sad too. And I know she's in a good situation now, but
yeah, but you just don't know.
You just don't know. And like
unknown.
You said, it's just the nature of the beast. Like, one day everything's good, the next you're gone. And it can be performance related. It could be you're playing great, but they want a different piece. It could be, money, like salary cap issues. Like, sometimes it's just so out of your control.
It is. And I think I don't know if people really examine the psychological effect on people,
right?
Especially if you've ever had any type of anxiety or voids in your life of not feeling loved or not feeling wanted, which a lot of people can go through, and then have somebody, yeah, you're traded.
Right.
That's in essence saying, yeah, you're not wanted here.
Right.
And then then you have to overcome that to be able to play at a very high level, because other people are competing for your job then. And I think it's just very difficult. And I don't think it gets enough attention. I've talked to several other people that I've had guests on the podcast, like Kendall Gill, talking about he was traded a couple of times. And a lot of times, it was, to your point, out of the blue.
Right.
He just gets a call from his agent. Hey, just want to let you know you've been traded from Charlotte. It just blows my mind how that is. So I always just like to hear other people's perspective.
And even to add on to that, people have houses, kids, their kids are in school. Like, there's so many things that the public just doesn't account for or see, and then it's crazy because you'll get traded and 2 days later you're in a game playing with this team in another city with a different offense, with a different coach, with And it's just like, why aren't you performing?
That's right. And back to the original point we had talked about earlier, is like, why aren't you playing to what we expect you to play or how we expect you to play?
Like, I wasn't traded, but I moved from San Antonio, and I came late because I was playing in Turkey. So we had a new coach, almost a completely new team, and I came late. So, like, I missed, like, 2 regular season games, missed all of the training camp. So I have an entire new, like, playbook. I'm a point guard playing for a new coach with a brand new team in a new city. And people are like, why aren't you playing good? Why aren't you? I'm like, can I move into my apartment?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, I'm still living in a hotel
I'm
right now.
I'm trying to figure out, like, you know, just learn people's names the other day. Like, and I know basketball is basketball, so it's like you have to still find yourself, find your identity, but it is not easy.
That's a tough transition.
It is not easy.
Regardless of what you're doing. And
Absolutely.
That's why I get so undervalued how tough it can be. To your point, that the general public, they just don't understand.
Right.
You know, because they've never had to experience, you know, situations like that where changes are being made without your decision, basically.
Right.
You know, and that's a tough part. Now, as you're still young. When I say young, you know, you're 24 years old or whatever. I'm double your age, but we all go through different experiences. And like we had mentioned, you know, it's always valuable to lean on people who've been through different experiences. So from your perspective, through your experiences so far, what would you tell a young Kelsey Plum now?
Good question. I wish I would have enjoyed the process more. I think I was, and still, I'm something that I have to work on, but I've always been like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Okay, good, I got that, next. And then you look back and you kind of miss out on like that joy of doing good job. Like, I did it, you know? I remember I had this great like college career and I got drafted, and then I'm just, okay, WNBA, like, gotta do this, that. I didn't like celebrate any of it. I didn't enjoy it. I just kind of was just like a machine. And I look back and I really regret that. And I can't get that back, but you know, for the next thing, I have to really try to work on like,
yeah, savor the moment.
Absolutely.
Right? And be in the moment.
Yes, and so that's been difficult because it's like a beast, like this profession. It's just on to the next, on the road, this country, you know what I mean? And you just have to figure out ways to like savor the moment, so.
Yeah. And what about in terms of like words of wisdom? Like, do you have phrases, quotes, or mottos, or just life advice that you've leaned on over the years?
Well, the John Wooden quote, working hard doesn't guarantee success, but not working hard guarantees failure. I've always like loved that one. I think like I do rely on some scriptures, but I think for the most part, just like the words of wisdom of, you know, talking to my parents, talking to my family. My mom always tries to reiterate, like, make sure you're having fun. I think sometimes I can get caught up in like a lot of things, but like I play this game because I love it, not because of this or the accolades or whatever. Like I play because
if the accolades weren't there, you would still love playing.
I play because I don't play for the money. I play because I love it. And I think when I'm doing that, that's when I'm at my best. So just always trying to remain grounded in that is super important.
Now you mentioned also you didn't really have a plan B. So
no, that's probably not good to say out loud. I don't know. I should tell people that.
I mean, what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't playing basketball as a career?
I don't know your philosophy, because I've heard like different people say, well, it's good that you didn't have a plan B because you put all your energy in plan A. And then I've also heard, like, what do you mean you didn't have a plan B? Like, what would you have done? I think, I mean, I'd like to do sports broadcasting, but that was, like, always my plan after basketball. So maybe that would have gotten, like, more attention if I didn't.
So maybe subconsciously you had a plan B, but the drive was the plan A and
Correct.
WNBA.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe to reach certain levels, you have to be so laser focused and have that type of drive. And a lot of times it's that fear of failure that drives you to, well, for me to get there, I can't think about a plan B because I don't want to view that as a failure. I want to focus on this plan A. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just everybody's motivated different ways. Right?
That's a fact.
For sure. What about, can you sum up what sports just means to you? And
I love sports because I feel like it's allowed me to connect with like so many different people in different realms. Like we can all look different, talk different, come from different places, but at the end of the day, when the game's on, we're all sitting around watching the game, you know?
It's the ultimate connector.
I would not be sitting here talking to you if it weren't for basketball, you know? And I've seen so many places around the world because of basketball. And I've had the opportunity to meet so many different like teammates, women that I've played with, and I love and I cherish those friendships only because I've been able to play basketball. So I'm super grateful for those like type of connections that I'm sure you're the same way.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's the ultimate connector.
Yes.
It really is lifelong relationships. And I know a lot of people sometimes will try to equate it to battle, to war,
right.
you know, and all that. And I understand there's obviously a very significant difference between the two, but there are the similarities just in terms of you're coming together for this one unified goal. And that's what I think is amazing as far as how it can bring people together.
Right.
Not only if you're actually playing or if you're just a fan, you know, that you're, you know, wanting your rooted team to have success. I do believe sports is much more than just what a lot of people give it credit for.
I agree with that.
All right, as we wrap up here, a trivia question.
No. Okay, good.
Trivia question. I'm going to pull out a prop.
Okay.
All right. Look at these bad boys.
Oh my goodness.
And if anybody's listening on just the audio, you need to go check out the YouTube channel so you can actually see what I'm presenting here. It's a huge pair of sneakers, Converse. Can you identify the signature?
This man, Bill Lambier.
Yes.
What size are these?
You know, we need to look. I can't remember.
I gotta take a picture and show these.
These might be size 17. See if you can.
These
see.
are like worn from him.
These are worn. I can't see the tag.
The tag is in there. That's
the
how
tag
old
might
it is.
not be. It's yeah. So he gave me these when I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
1988. I'm from the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
So the Pistons came into town. And I was, like I mentioned, I was a gym rat, and I used to go to the Hawks games all the time.
Yeah.
And I got to know the security guards, and they would just let me in the games for free, you know, through the back door. And I got to a point where I was just asking players for their shoes. And Bill Lambier gave me his shoes and signed them 1988. So I'm like, how can guys how can they play in these shoes? Look,
that's
these
crazy.
Are clunkers,
Let me see these. These are actually not as bad as I thought. Didn't they used to play in like Chucks?
Yes, they did. Yes. Now that was even farther back. Yes, these shoes are older than you. So there's a piece of history for you.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yes. Well, Kelsey, I can't thank you enough for taking time, you know, out of your schedule, and I greatly appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thanks for having me.